storms come in your life, you got, in order to get past them, you have to keep going. When I was a little girl, we lived part of the time with my aunt after my mother died, before my father remarried. And how many of you have been driving and all of a sudden a rainstorm comes up? It's nice and sunny outside. Y'all have experienced this, especially in South Florida. And we would drive and all of a sudden we'd be in a terrible storm. And I would look over and I'd see people pull to the side of the road waiting, or people under an underpass. And I would look at my aunt and I say, Auntie, stop, we're gonna die, we can't see, it's raining too hard. And she said, baby, those people over there, they don't know how long the storm's gonna be here. But if you keep driving, eventually we're gonna drive out of this storm. So later in life, I started to adopt that as my own philosophy in life. When a storm comes up, now I'm Baptist, y'all. I'm in the Baptist church. Our Baptist preachers say you either in a storm, you just came out of a storm, or you're about to go into a storm. So things gonna happen. That's what you said, and I heard you say earlier about everything that seems to be happening. It's just a storm. Just keep driving. You're gonna make it through those storms, okay? But so that's what happened. I had to keep going through this. But I had to believe that I could make it through that storm. I had to believe in myself. I had to believe that the same thing that allowed me to get to college with no parents, and the same thing that allowed me to be able to pass the bar, that same thing that I had was going to allow me to rehabilitate myself and come back even stronger than I was when I had left the state attorney's office. So I kept driving through that storm. Then in 2012, seeing you with that on your hand and watching you reminded me in 2012, I went to work for the city of Hollandale Beach, December of 2011. A month later, I went to the fire station and said, I'm not feeling good, could you take my blood pressure? And they looked at me afterwards and said, which hospital do you want to go to? But I was kind of shocked. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't expect that. And they said, well, you know, you can't leave here unless you're in an ambulance. So I said, well, how high is my blood pressure? They said 210 over 110. So which hospital you want to go to, Aventura or Memorial? I said, which one's closest? Please give me to the hospital. Don't let me have a stroke in the back of the ambulance, please. I don't want that on my, I don't want anybody reading my obituary and say, she stroked out in the back of the ambulance. You know? So they got me to the Aventura and determined I had a subdural hematoma and I had to have surgery. So I had brain surgery about 8 days later and had seizures during recovery, and it ended up totally paralyzed on my left side. I'm left-handed, folks. So that was a devastating storm. You know, all the storms I had gone through earlier with my finances and everything, I used to wonder when people said, oh girl, God just making you stronger. You know, you just making stronger. And I used to say, stronger for what? What is coming down the road that I have to be so strong for? December 2012, I found out I needed everything and every experience I had gone through in my life to help me get the courage and the fortitude to do my physical therapy, to when they left, continue to work on it myself so that I could stand in front of people on my own. Because when I went in that hospital for evaluation and rehab, they said I was a total dependent. When my sister asked the therapist, will she recover? He said, we don't know. He offered me no hope. His cohort offered me no hope. My sister, I saw the disappointment in her eyes. When I could tell she was thinking about all I had been through and all I had been able to accomplish. Now, what was my life going to be like? So I had to fight for me. Because I knew I didn't have anyone else there fighting for me. But I needed something to hold on to. Something I could physically have in my hands. So I asked my sister to bring me my medallions that I had gotten from walking full marathons and half marathons. Because there was a time when I couldn't do that. And I know how I trained and I had mentally prepared in So she brought them and I tied them on my bed in the hospital room. And every morning before I went to physical therapy, I would reach over and grab those medallions and say, you can do this. And at night, when I would come back from therapy, before I went to sleep, I'd reach over again and grab those medallions and say, you can do this. You are a winner. You are not a person who gives up. Although I will tell you honestly, when I was walking that 26.2 miles at Disney, there were some benches that I walked past that I said, you know, they are made for sitting down. You can sit down if you want to. But I kept going, you know, and it's the same with getting over the shame of failure. One of the things I've learned is there are 4 things that I want to tell you real quickly before I sit down that you have to do to get over the shame of failure. The first one is you have to acknowledge your part in the failure. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich says there are 30 causes. Actually, he says 31 causes for failure. He leaves the last one for you to figure out yourself. But of those 30 causes, there are only 2 that you have no control over. And that's heredity and your environment as a child. The rest of them are completely within our control. Procrastination, wrong choice of mate, wrong choice of business associates, you know, poor financial handling of your finances, all those things that could lead to different failures in our life are in our control. So you have to acknowledge that you had a part in that. When I look back on what happened with me at the state attorney's office, I have to acknowledge I had a part in that. There were things that I did that led to that happening to me. And once you acknowledge that, you've got to forgive yourself. One of the ways I find it helpful is actually write yourself an apology letter. You know, Lynn, I apologize for doing this, this, and this to you. Just as you would to someone else. So then you can accept the apology. After you apologize to yourself and acknowledge it, then you got to let it go. You can't let it trail behind